Good morning, Home Church. My name is Taylor, and even though we're online today, we are glad that you're here. Today is important because we are stepping into something new together as a church. This year, our annual giving campaign, Heart for the House, will unfold in 3 parts across the year. Today, we begin part 1, a season we're calling Hands in the House, focusing on giving to the church through serving. And we are believing God for 88 new volunteers, for 88 people to say yes to serving at Home Church. And this isn't just to fill roles, but to step into what God is already doing. So if you click the link below, you'll see the different volunteer position descriptions, categorized by ministry areas. So take some time to look through those and pray about where God might be calling you to serve. And if you're ready to get the ball rolling, there will also be a link to digitally commit. And then we'll get to celebrate the progress we've made the next time we're in church together. Now, the first step to serving at Home Church is our membership class called Pathways, which is happening February 15th. And you can sign up for that through the Church Center app. Now, our Hands in the House season is about more than attending. It's about responding. It's an invitation to step into what God is already doing by offering our time, gifts, and hearts in obedience and trust. While the church isn't built on us, God, in His grace, chose to build it through us as we join in His work. And we want to show you why this is such a big deal and why this matters. So take a look at this video.
My name is Abby Richmond, and my husband, Graham, and I walked through a really devastating and difficult season in our marriage that I caused in the fall of 2024. And Pastor Gerald started counseling us and walking with us and really encouraged us to find a place to plug into and to call our church. So in January of 2025, we started attending Home Church. I felt a lot of shame and a lot of fear about reapproaching God's house. But it was such a gift from the minute I pulled on the campus, just to be so welcomed. And I really feel like it was the front door team, because walking up felt overwhelming to me. All of a sudden, in this place that I've always felt very comfortable, it felt really overwhelming. I was so afraid kind of in general of being seen. Walking up and having somebody just genuinely look so happy that I was there, and to look me in the eye and to smile at me and just show such warmth. Really, during that season of life, I introduced a lot of hurt and brokenness into our life. So the reactions that I had from other people, even eye contact and just feeling like comfort and warmth, a lot of times wasn't always consistent. And so I say this to say it might feel like a small thing to look someone in the eye and smile at them, to give them a pat on the back or to welcome them in, but it really may be the only consistent place that they're receiving that throughout their week. And it might seem small to you, but to me, receiving that kind of like warmth and intention, it was a consistent place to know I could receive that. And you never know if it's the only place that somebody might be getting to have that. This is a really, really special place, and there is a place for you to serve, and you never know how the Lord is going to use it.
Man, what an incredible story from our friend Abby, and what a beautiful picture it is of the church serving and showing up for one another. I hope that over the next few weeks, as we talk about our Hands in the House campaign, that you would jump in, that you would get involved, that you would find a place to serve. 88 people jumping in to bring your gifts and your talents in order to serve the people of our house and our community well. And so we'll be talking about this over the next few weeks, but I'm excited to gather today online. Unfortunately, due to snow, we're not going to be able to meet together, but we are able to meet together online today. And what's really fun about today is I'm not going to preach this message by myself. I got some family from our church in the room. Come on, it's so good. And so about 25 people in the room with me as we jump into a brand new series together today. So with that said, I hope you're ready to jump into the Word. I am, and I'm believing that God is going to speak to us in a mighty and powerful way. So if you are watching online, or if you're right here in the room, if it's good, you can just say, come on. If you don't know what to say, you can give me a little Christian moo. It sounds like this. Love it. Hey, turn to the person next to you if you're in the room or the person on the couch next to you. And I want you to answer this question. Who is your favorite actor of all time? Who's your favorite actor of all time? Who is it? All right, a couple of people yell at me. Neil, who is it? Clint Eastwood. That's a good one. I love it. Okay, good. Daniel, favorite actor of all time? Who? Daniel Day-Lewis. Don't know who that is. What is he in? Okay, well, no good ones apparently. All right, someone from this side, pick like a real actor that people have heard of. Come on, Denzel Washington. That's the answer we're looking for. My all-time favorite actor is Denzel Washington because Denzel plays in the greatest movies of all time. The greatest movie ever made, you all know what it is. Remember the Titans, cannot be beat. Absolutely love that movie. But there's a movie from Denzel Washington that I actually think is a little bit slept on. It's kind of underrated. Has anyone seen the movie The Inside Man? Anyone seen The Inside Man? Okay, if you haven't seen the movie, the concept is that there's these bank robbers who break into a bank and they take a bunch of hostages. And they're not going into the bank to actually rob the bank for money. There's a specific thing that they want out of a safety deposit box. And so they go in to steal this thing out of the safety deposit box and they keep these hostages. And Denzel Washington plays the police officer who's a negotiator with the robbers, right? Trying to get the hostages out of the situation that they're in. And so Denzel is negotiating with these bank robbers, and there's one particular robber who's kind of leading the charge. And so they're going back and forth, and the robber makes this statement to Denzel, which is kind of wild. He says to Denzel, the way I'm going to get out of this bank is I'm going to walk right out of the front doors. And from that point in the movie, you're like, what in the world is going to happen? How are you just going to walk out of the front doors, right? You get towards the end of kind of this robbery hostage situation, and the robbers put all of the people in the same kind of paint uniforms, including themselves. So the police come in to get to the robbers, and when they come in, they find that the robbers and the victims or the civilians or the hostages are all mixed together. You don't know who's who. And so everyone gets released, except for one person, the main robber. We don't know where he went. We don't know what happens. So the police are investigating. Where is he? What happened? Could he have gotten out? We knew who we were looking for. Where did he go? Well, it turns out that everyone else leaves in their paint uniforms, but the main robber stays in the building in a false room that they'd built. And he hides on the inside of the bank for 3 or 4 days. And once the bank gets back to regular operations, he puts on a construction uniform and he walks right out the front door. Police are confused. They've checked the doors, they've checked the windows, they've checked the cameras, they've checked every exterior exit for them to have gotten out, and they cannot figure out how in the world did he get out of the bank. It never occurred to them that while they were so busy checking on the exterior, they had never considered that maybe there was something happening on the interior the entire time. While they were so concerned with the exterior, they missed the reality that there was something happening on the inside, that there was an inside man. Today, we're starting a brand new series entitled Inside Job. And for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about this idea that while we're so concerned with the things that are happening on the exterior, we miss the reality that there are things that are happening in the interior that need to be paid attention to. Or we're so concerned focusing on the external circumstances, we miss the reality that there are things that are happening on the inside, that we're concerned about the outside man or woman, the exterior man or woman, but we neglect the inside man. That we don't consider that maybe there are some things that are happening on the inside of us that need to be paid attention to. That we worry about the car that we drive, but we don't pay attention to what's driving our decisions. We focus on the house that we live in, but we don't focus on the condition of our heart. We focus on our physical appearance, but we neglect our attitude. We focus on our career, but we neglect our character. We have a tendency to focus on the external, but not pay attention to what's happening internally, to not focus on the inside man. And here's why that's a problem. Because what's inside of you will always come out of you. Isn't that true? That what's inside of you will always come out of you, that your external life will ultimately be shaped by your internal life, that your relationships, your success, your health, your opportunities will all be shaped by what's going on in your heart. Solomon, who's said to be the wisest man to ever live, son of David, says this in Proverbs 4:23. He says, above all else, guard your, y'all say it with me, heart. For everything you do flows from it. Above all else, guard your heart. Pay attention to what's happening on the inside, to what you let in, to the things that are happening on the inside of you, to the inner man. Pay attention to this thing, because if you don't pay attention to what's going on in your heart, and if you are not careful to guard what you let in, what comes into you and what lives in you and what builds in you and what grows in you will eventually make its way out of you. Everything you do is influenced by what's happening on the inside of you. And so for the next few weeks, we want to spend some time examining our internal life. And we want to look at our internal life so that we can live the external life that Jesus has called us to. So to do that, we're going to be looking at Jesus' first sermon and arguably his most famous sermon in all of the scriptures. We're going to be looking at the Sermon on the Mount. So you can grab your Bible, or you can grab your Matthew book, or you could grab both. And we're going to turn to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. And we're going to jump right in from the very beginning. Verse 1 says this. Now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up to the mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him and he began to teach them. Okay, so in these first two verses, we kind of see the setup of the scene. Jesus has just been tested in the wilderness. We talked about that at the end of our last series when we looked at the way of the righteous. That Jesus has been tested in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. He says no to the temptation. And now he's moving into his public ministry. As we move into a new series, we're moving into a new season in the life of Jesus. Moving from temptation into his public ministry, we get the setup for how it begins. He sees the crowds. He makes his way up a mountainside. His disciples come to him and he begins to teach them. Now, there's so much that's happening right here in the setup. The first thing that we have to notice is who's there, right? It says that Jesus sees the crowds, but that he also has disciples. That there's crowds that are there, but then there are those who go up to him, and those are his disciples. The crowds and the disciples. Friends, can I just let you know tonight that there is a difference between being in the crowd and being a disciple? That just being in the room does not make you a follower of Jesus. That just going to church does not make you a Christian. That growing up in a Christian family does not mean that you have a relationship with Jesus. There's a difference between being in the crowd and being a disciple. There's a difference between knowing about Jesus and knowing him personally. There's a difference between walking into Christian rooms and walking with Jesus. The disciples come to him and they separate themselves from the crowd. You see, the first thing we notice is who's there. There's a crowd of people who are likely going to be able to hear this message because the mountain would have amplified the voice of Jesus, so they would have heard what was being said. But then there are disciples who come to Jesus, and it says that Jesus begins to teach them, the crowds and the disciples. The second thing that we have to pay attention to is not just who's there, though. We actually have to pay attention to where this is happening. It says that Jesus went up on y'all help me, mountainside, on a mountainside. Now, mountains take a special significance in the scriptures. That if you read through the Old Testament, you're going to find these significant moments that happen with God on a mountaintop. As you read through the New Testament, specifically in the book of Matthew, you're going to see 7 different mountaintop moments with Jesus. Mountains are significant because mountains are said to be the place where heaven and earth collide, where God meets his people. This is the place, this liminal space between the supernatural and the natural, between God and his people. They meet in this space. Mountains are significant. And this mountaintop moment is significant because it's intended to connect us to another mountaintop moment. Now, before I show you what it is, though, I need to first show you what Jesus says next. Look at verse 3. He says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the poor in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Blessed are those who were persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way that they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Jesus goes up to this mountainside and he sits down. And his disciples draw near to him, and as soon as they do, he starts with this message that we now know as the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes, these countercultural, upside-down blessings to the people who would draw near to God. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit. If you recognize your spiritual poverty, there's blessing for you. Blessed are those who mourn about the things that I mourn about, the things that break my heart. If they break yours, there's blessing that comes in that. You'll be comforted. Blessed are those who are meek, not weak, but meek. There's a blessing for those who are willing to restrain their strength in order to love and care for others. They will inherit the kingdom of earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, who recognize their need for me and who long for more and more of me, who long to be right with me, who says, oh, they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they'll be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the pure peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for their righteousness, for they get the kingdom. Blessed are you if you are insulted on my behalf. There's blessing in following Jesus. Jesus takes them up on this mountain and he talks about this blessing. Now, we don't have enough time to unpack the Beatitudes in details. Good news, though, you're going to cover this in your Bible studies. So if you're not in one, get in one, right? But we're also going to be talking about this on Instagram and our Monday motivation. So every Monday, we'll release a video that's out of the Beatitudes. It's going to be great. But I don't want you to miss there's one repeated word. And anytime we see repetition in the scripture, it means that we should pay attention. So what's the word that y'all notice is repeated over and over and over again? Anyone see it? Blessed. 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 Blessed, blessed, blessed. Why does this matter? Why is it that Jesus starts his public ministry preaching a message from a mountain, and the first words that he decides to say in order to initiate his rule and reign, in order to initiate the beginning of his ministry, in order to initiate the kingdom, why is it that the first thing that Jesus says out of his mouth to these people is blessed? Why? Well, it takes us to another mountaintop moment. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 1 through 3. God creates the world and everything it's all good, right? And then he creates Adam and Eve and he makes us in his image and he places Adam and Eve in a garden called Eden. Now, the scripture gives us some weird details about Eden that it feels kind of unnecessary when you're reading it, but in hindsight, you can see the significance of these little details. It tells us that Eden has these 4 headwaters that start in Eden and flow out into the rest of the world. One thing we know about water is water does not flow up, it flows down. So it tells us that the location of Eden is up high. It's in a high place, likely on top of a mountain is what most scholars believe. And so you have Eden on top of this mountain, and this blessing, this river is flowing down into the rest of the world. So Adam and Eve are placed in this garden. They're placed on this mountaintop. And God gives Adam and Eve 3 specific commands, 3 things that he asks Adam and Eve to do. Anyone remember what they are? Help me. What's one of them? Be fruitful and multiply. That's 1. 2 more. Say it again. Care for the land, right? Take dominion over the land. That's number 2. 1 more. So he says you can eat from any tree, but don't eat from this one tree. Isn't it funny how we always remember the one thing that God says not to do and we forget the abundance of all the things that he gave us that we can do? Eat from any of the trees. Just don't eat from that one. Side note, not in my notes, but sometimes I just feel like it's worth saying. If you think God is like who wants to kill your joy and your fun and doesn't want you to enjoy life and is just like this, almighty, holy God that's like, just be perfect and holy and have no fun, the God that we're talking about said, hey, here's the way that you worship me. Work, eat, and have sex. Pretty good God. Amen? Right? And so we get these 3 things. Hey, Adam and Eve, I want you to work, take dominion over the land. I want you to eat anything that you want. Just don't eat from this one tree. And I want you to be fruitful and multiply. Adam and Eve, watch this, are living in the blessing of God. And they're told that they need to spread the blessing of God into the rest of the world. How? By being fruitful and multiplying. Have kids, disciple your kids, send them out into the world, and as the family of God grows, the goodness and glory of God spreads throughout the land. The blessing that you're living in now goes out to everyone else. This is where we get the idea that we're blessed to be a blessing. You with me still? Okay, so we're on a mountaintop in Eden. There's a kingdom mandate given to Adam and Eve to spread the glory and goodness of God into the rest of the world. But what happens with Adam and Eve? They disobey God. They don't trust him. And they eat from the one tree that God has told them not to eat from. And at this moment, sin enters the world and they cover themselves up in shame, and God walks in their direction. And first he asks, where are you? Not because he doesn't know where they are, but because he wants them to see how far away they've gotten. And then he goes, what have you done? Who told you that you should eat from this tree? And then right after that, God does something that we don't expect. He curses Adam and Eve. He says, this is the curse to Satan. But good news, in the middle of this curse, there is one who's going to come and crush your head. Don't miss that. But then he says to Adam and Eve, hey, there's a consequence for your sin. The curse for you, Adam, is the land is going to be hard for you to work. Eve, you're going to have pain in childbirth. There is a curse. And then they're dismissed from the garden. Now, if the garden is on top of the mountain and they have to leave the garden, what do they have to do in order to leave? Descend. Okay, so don't miss this. Adam and Eve are on a mountain. They're given a mandate by God to spread his glory and blessing into the world. Instead, they sin and they receive a curse, and then they descend from the mountain and they spread the curse of sin into all of the world. Then Jesus shows up on the scene. And after being tested in the wilderness, the first thing that he does in his public ministry is not descend the mountain, but go up the mountain. He ascends. He sits down the presence of God with his people. His disciples draw near to him, and the first thing that he does is not curse them, but bless them. The blessing is now given. Hear me. This is the reverse of the curse. It's the reverse of the curse. And not only is it the reverse of the curse, what we're going to see in just a few minutes is he reverses the curse on top of the mountain, but then he speaks to his disciples a reinstatement of the mandate. Now go and bring the blessing you just received into the rest of the world. Please don't miss this. The significance of the Sermon on the Mount starts with this, that Jesus has reversed the curse and he reinstates the mandate for you and me. Now, before I can show you how he does that, I just want to sit in this spot for a second. That Jesus reverses the curse and he reinstates the mandate. If he reverses the curse, here's what that means. That because of the death, burial, and resurrection, when you put your faith in Jesus, your sin no longer controls you. You now actually have access to the presence and person of God. That your failure doesn't have the final word. That your past does not define your future. That death is not the end of the story. That you no longer live under a curse, but you live under the blessing of God. Friends, this is the good news of the gospel. That our sin leaves us dead, separated, broken, cursed. But Jesus comes on the scene and he lives the life that we could not live. And he dies the death that we deserve. And he raises again, defeating sin, death, hell, and the grave once and for all. And he says, anyone who believes in me now gets life and blessing. This is the reversal of the curse, and this is the good news of the gospel. And not only that, but he reinstates the mandate. So what does that mean for you and me? It means that after we've put our faith in Jesus, we now actually get to walk in the plans and the purposes of God. That he still has a plan for your life, that he can still use you, that your story can be used for his glory, that the goodness and glory and blessing of God can go back into the world through you and me. The curse has been reversed and the mandate has been reinstated. The question is, now what? Like, how do we live out this mandate? What is this supposed to look like? Is it just that we're supposed to be fruitful and multiply? Is that what it is now? Or does the mandate spread in a different way? Well, this is what Jesus says next, verse 13. He says, you are the salt of the earth. You are the salt of the earth. That phrase is such a loaded statement because salt has so many defining characteristics. Can I just give us 3 today? Is that cool with y'all? Can I give you 3? Okay, 3 defining characteristics of salt. Number 1 is that salt preserves. Back in the day, before we had refrigeration, in order to keep meat longer, they would pour salt on the meat to cure the meat. It would keep the flesh from rotting or decaying. Now, don't miss this. The natural tendency of flesh is to lead to rot and decay, which is what our flesh does in us. If nothing steps into the story to preserve us, we are only going to lead ourselves to rot and decay, and that is the direction that the world is headed. And can we just be honest? If you turn on the news today, our world is leading to decay. If you turn on TV today, our morals are decaying quicker and quicker and quicker each day. You go to Facebook or Instagram, it seems like we have lost our morality, we have lost our way, we have lost our character, we've lost our integrity, we've lost our love, we've lost our peace. But salt steps into the picture and says the decay is bound to happen, but it can be stopped and it can be preserved when salt is added. Now please hear me. Being salt and preserving the world from moral decay is not about changing systems. And I feel like I need to say that again because some of y'all didn't hear me. We waste so much time trying to change a system that is led by a ruler who is opposed to our God. And I'm not talking about the president, I'm talking about the enemy, who is the ruler of this earth until Jesus returns and ushers in a new heaven and new earth. And so we keep trying to change the systems. We keep trying to fix the macro problem, not realizing that the macro has been left to God, but he has called us into the micro. He's called us to do some things about the people that are in front of us. You see, being salt is not about fixing the system. It's about adding peace to a world that's filled with chaos. It's about adding love to a world that's filled with hate. It's about adding integrity to a world that is prone to take shortcuts and the easy way out. It's adding sacrifice into a world that is self-centered. It's adding humility into a world that is prideful and all about self. It is adding to the world the goodness of God, not trying to keep the world from being the world. When we add God's goodness, preservation begins to take place. Because you show up and you add the goodness of God into a family and one person gets it, oh, that generational line looks different down the road. You show up in a company and you add the goodness of God and one person who works next to you, oh man, the culture of the company begins to change. When we add a little bit of salt and people start to see, oh, there's peace over there. Oh, there's joy over there. Oh, there's kindness over there. Oh, there's humility over there. Oh, if that's what life could look like, I want some of that. The people around you start to be preserved from the moral decay that they're ultimately bound for. The first characteristic of salt is that it is a preservative. It is meant to keep decay from occurring, and when we show up as salt, the moral decay that happens around us decreases little by little by little. That's number one. Number two, the salt is pleasing. Anyone ever had unsalted food before? When Kylie and I first got married, I was like, hey baby, I know you're Irish, but I got to teach you what salt is, okay? You got to put some salt on this food. Now, she's figured it out. She's been making some bagels and some bread. Thank you, Robin. It's been hitting, right? She's figured out what salt is, but salt added appropriately makes things better. It's pleasing. It makes things taste better. It makes things more enjoyable. It enhances whatever it is put on. Back in the day, I want to say it was before I was a Christian, but it wasn't, so please forgive me for the sin I'm about to admit to you. I used to go to McDonald's at night. There was one like right next to my house. The worst part about it is I would be on the phone with Kylie and I'd be in the McDonald's like drive-thru and I'd put her on mute so she didn't know what I was ordering. And then I'd get home and she was like, I know you were at McDonald's or Taco Bell. Which one was it, right? Like she knew. But there was this McDonald's that I would go to and at night there was this one guy who would work at the drive-thru at this McDonald's and he'd get on the intercom, he'd be like, hey, welcome to McDonald's, how you doing today? How you doing tonight? And you could like hear him smiling through the intercom, you know? And you pull up to the window and he's just like dancing and there's just this like joy and this like bubbliness about him. And he'd hand me my fries through the window and my large high C orange, right? And I'd take it and I'd drive off and I'd be like, man, he's a good guy. And I'd come back the next day. Same thing. And every time I was there was just something different about him. I had never seen a McDonald's employee who showed up like that. And so after a few times, I pulled up to the window and I just asked him, I said, hey, dude, this is weird. I just got to know, are you a Christian? And he goes, yeah, man, I am. Because there's something about the presence of God that makes McDonald's seem holy when someone shows up and they add a little bit of salt. Now, I know the salt is there because if you've ever had them fries, come on, somebody, right? It's pleasing. The last characteristic of salt is it's pure. It's pure. Now, this word purity tends to get a bad rap, but the word itself really just means to not be stained or polluted. It's kind of like this idea of being set apart. Like when you think about purity, you can also think about holiness. It's being other than, it's unlike anything else. And the reality of salt is that salt cannot be reduced to anything other than salt. You can't make it anything else. It's unlike any other thing. You can't combine it with anything else. Salt is just salt, which makes what Jesus say next make so much sense. Think about this. It says, you are the salt of the earth. But if salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Okay, Jesus, what in the world are you talking about? Sometimes I read the teachings of Jesus, and we like to say, like, Jesus was so simple. He was like a simple teacher. He just told really great stories, and he made everything make sense. But have you ever noticed, like, when Jesus would talk, his disciples were like, hey, bro, do you know what he's talking about? I don't know what he's talking about. And then Jesus would be like, oh, y'all still don't get what I'm talking about. And then you have to explain it afterwards. Sometimes Jesus says things and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about right now. Like, what do you mean when you say if salt loses its saltiness? Have you ever had unsalty salt? Anyone? No. Because the moment that salt stops being salty, you know what it's no longer? Salt. So what do you mean if salt loses its saltiness? How can it be made salty again? Well, salt cannot be reduced to anything other than salt. So how does salt lose its saltiness? Well, salt loses its saltiness not because it can be reduced to something else, but it can be mixed with something else. How does salt lose its saltiness? This is a little bit of sand from my girl's playroom. Not playroom, outside. We don't have sand in our house, right? And this is some salt that I stole from Taylor's grandmother right here. It's good, right? How does this become less salty? Well, when it's mixed, when it's diluted. Okay. Any of y'all want to take this and put it on a steak now? You think this can still preserve anything? You think it still has any use or purpose? No, the moment that this sand was added to the salt, it lost its use. It no longer can fulfill its purpose. It no longer can do what it's intended to do. Now, right now, the sand is just sitting on top of the salt, but the more that you mix, and the more you hang out with it, and the more you get involved with it, and the more it becomes a part of your life, the harder it is for you to separate the sand from the salt. And the more mixed in it gets, the more unlikely it is that you can use it for the purpose that it was intended to be used for. So what is Jesus' point? When you mix in with the world, when you think like them, when you act like them, when you live like them, when you look like them, you mix in with them, you are no longer able to serve the purpose of preserving the world from moral decay because you're morally decaying. You're no longer able to be pleasing to the places that you walk in and enhance it and make it better because you've given in to the same value system and belief that they have. You're no longer pure and set apart. No, you're mixed in with them. And Jesus doesn't say you're not loved anymore, but he does says you can't fulfill your purpose anymore. I can't use you because you've allowed yourself to be mixed in and become like them. Jesus says, you're supposed to be salt. You're useful. Preserve the world from its decay. Add to it, enhance it, make it better every place you walk in. Can I just say this? Christians should be the best employees in every company. Christians should be the best leaders of all leaders. Christians should be the best neighbors in every neighborhood. If a Christian leads the HOA, that better be the best HOA on the planet. Where we show up, things are supposed to get better. But when we mix in with the world, when we take on its selfishness, its own ambition, its pride, its lack of humility, its lack of love, its lack of kindness, its lack of care for other people, then we no longer serve the purpose that God intended for us to serve. So Jesus says, don't get mixed up with them because salt cannot be made salty again. It loses its purpose. You are the salt of the world, he says. The kingdom mandate has been reinstated, but the way that you live it out is you go out as salt. But then and there, he continues on and he says this. He says, you're the salt of the world and you are the light of the world. You're the light of the world. Now, y'all, I could spend hours talking about the benefits of light. I don't have enough time to do that. I got 4 minutes and 24 seconds left. But I could talk about how light illuminates, how it gives guidance, how it provides peace, how it gives clarity, how it exposes things. and y'all would preach. Like, it would be a real good sermon. Or I could talk about how God at the beginning said, let there be light, and then he calls us light. And so in the same way that he spoke light into the darkness, that he's speaking us to be light into the darkness, and that would preach, and it would be real good. But neither of those sermons would hit the point that Jesus is ultimately trying to make. And as profound as they would be, they would miss the beauty of the simplicity of what Jesus is about to say next. Simple, what he says, complicated in action. You are the light of the world, he says. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. No, instead they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, he says, y'all say these 4 words with me. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Could I just simplify what Jesus is saying about light into 3 words for us? Shine your light. Shine your light. Because you're the light of the world. And a light on a hill can't be hidden. A lamp in a house, you don't cover it up with a bowl. Because no, you put it on the stand so that the light affects everything and everyone around it. He goes, shine your light. Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good deeds, so that they may see your difference, so that they may see the preservation, so that they may see the pleasure that comes from a follower of Jesus being in their midst, so that they may see your purity and it may give glory to the Father in heaven. Shine your light. Can I tell y'all one of the greatest worship songs ever written? Better than What a Beautiful Name. Better than How Great Is Our God. Better than Oceans. Can I tell y'all, the greatest worship song ever written? Here are the lyrics. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, you didn't get it the first time? Let me say it again. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, you didn't get that? One more time. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. And in case you didn't get the point, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Sometimes the elementary truths are the most difficult for us to comprehend. Simple song, but if we're honest, it's pretty convicting. Let your light shine. Let it shine. Why is this convicting? Because somewhere along the way, we've confused a personal faith with a private faith. That this personal relationship with God eventually becomes this private thing that we're not willing to share with anyone else. Anyone who knows anything about me knows that I love volcano candles. Anyone else in the room love a good volcano candle? This is the one that sits in my office. And most days when I walk in, I grab my lighter and I'll come over and I'll light it. And sometimes I'll just look at the flame and just take in the smell for a little bit before I start my day. I come in and I light my candle and I enjoy it. You know what would be ridiculous though? There are some people who think that the smell of a volcano candle is kind of feminine. What would be ridiculous is if every time I was meeting with a guy in my office, if I was like, ooh, there's a guy coming in here, I don't want him to judge me for my candle, so I'm gonna, no, I don't want you to judge me because I don't want you to think, no, I'm gonna put that out. But then as soon as they walk out, I'm like, oh yeah, there's my candle again. So good. Oh, well, there are some people who think the smell is like kind of overpowering, it's too strong. And I don't know if you're gonna like it or not before you walk in. So just to be safe, so I don't offend you, I'm gonna, okay, and then when they leave and they're gone, oh, then I can enjoy the smell for myself again. And I can enjoy it for me. It's ridiculous, isn't it? That if I love the candle as much as I say I do, when other people walk into the office, I want them to experience the joy of what I experience every single time I light up the candle. You see, many of us treat our faith the same way that I would treat the candle if I did that or lived that way. That we walk into our company and we're like, oh yeah, I love Jesus, but I don't want to offend anyone at the office. But then when I get to church, let me light it back up again. Oh, I love Jesus. Like, I'm a follower of Jesus and I'm all in, but there's certain friends of mine who like had really bad church experiences. And so like when I'm with them and we're like drinking and we're watching the game, like I'm just not gonna talk about Jesus as much as I know it's been really hard for them. But then when I get to Bible study, oh, I'm all in. Yeah, like I'm a follower of Jesus, but that's a kind of a controversial conversation. And if I tell you what the Bible actually says about that, you might not like me as much, so let's just not talk about it. But, pastors in the room? Or I'm in a room with my friends who I know all believe the same thing? I can light it back up now. Friends, this is a private faith. It is not a personal relationship with Jesus. And I don't know about you, but in my relationship, if I looked at Kylie and said, hey, I love you, but let's just not tell anyone that we're together. I want you to be my wife, but I don't want anyone to know that I'm married to you, so like, let's just keep that between me and you. My relationship would be over faster than I could finish the sentence. Hear me. A private relationship is not what Jesus called you to. A personal one is what he called you to. You cannot follow Jesus in the dark. So what's the difference between a private relationship and a personal relationship? A personal relationship is this. Everyone who steps foot in this building knows that this is my candle. It is my candle, it is not your candle. You cannot touch my candle, you cannot move my candle. You cannot light my candle without asking my permission. This is my candle. And this candle goes with me where I go. So if I want to take this candle home, I'm bringing it home. And I'm taking it to the office. And I'm taking it to my kids' bedtime. And I'm taking it to the shows that I watch and the music that I listen to and the hard conversations and the easy conversations and the offensive conversations. Oh, this light is going with me on my Instagram. This light is going with me on my Facebook. This light makes me apologize when I don't want to apologize. This light makes me forgive when I don't want to forgive. This light goes with me everywhere that I go. And please hear me when I say this. This is mine to carry, not yours. You cannot carry my light and I cannot carry yours. And as much as you want the church to step in and do the job for you, can I just let you in on a secret? We cannot go to all of your jobs and tell your friends about Jesus. Oh, but you can bring your light. I can't tell your family about the Lord, but you can. I can't disciple everyone in your life, but God has given you an opportunity to carry your light into the dark places. A personal relationship is not blowing out the candle and covering it up so that other people aren't offended. No, that's private. A personal relationship is, oh, this is mine and it belongs to me and I'm taking it with me everywhere that I go. And you are going to see the benefit and smell the benefit and experience the benefit of what having this light in me looks like. This is mine and I'm going to carry it proudly. You cannot follow Jesus in the dark. So he says, shine your light. Shine your light. I told you one of my favorite actors of all time is Denzel Washington. I'll tell you one of my favorite movies of all time, second to Remember the Titans, Coach Carter. Coach Carter, there's a character named Timo Cruz, troubled kid, involved in gang activity, has a lot going on in his life, but the coach doesn't give up on him. Timo keeps showing up over and over, different kind of intense moments throughout the movie, and Coach Carter looks at Timo Cruz and he keeps asking this question, what's your deepest fear? What's your deepest fear? What's your deepest fear? And he's confused, he doesn't understand, but then there's this scene at the end of the movie where the guys had been failing classes and coach said, hey, I'm here to develop you into men, not into basketball players, so we're not playing basketball until your grades get up. And so they lock the gym and parents vote and the school board vote and they go, hey, no, you have to let them play. And so they take the chains off the doors and Coach Carter walks in to pack up all of his stuff because if you're not gonna let me build their character and all you care about is basketball, then I'm not your guy. And as he walks in to get all of his stuff out of his office, he sees the guys sitting in desks in the gym, refusing to play, studying, trying to get their grades up, to be the men that Coach knew they could be. And Timo Cruz looks at Coach Carter and he stands up and he says this, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people don't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. Watch this. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. When you let your light shine, you give Connor permission to do the same. And when Connor lets his light shine, he gives Annie permission to do the same. And when Annie lets her light shine, it gives Grant, depending on where you're from, permission to do the same. And it lets Anna Grace and Daniel and Amani and Carrie have the confidence to believe that if they can shine their light there, maybe I can too. The mandate has been reinstated. The curse has been reversed. And we've been called to be salt and light so that others may experience the goodness and the glory of God. On with this. David in Psalm 34 says an interesting phrase that I've been thinking about all week as I've been preparing this sermon. He says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." And I just can't help but think that maybe part of the reason that Jesus calls us salt and light is because he knows that when we're salt and light, others get to taste and see the goodness of God. So what do we do with a message like this? Well, for the believer, go be salt and light. Preserve the world of moral decay, not by trying to change the system, but by living in a way that you add the goodness and the glory of God to everywhere you go. Go be a pleasing, enhancing presence in your business, at your schools, with your family, with your friends. Be pure and set apart, living holy for God's purposes. And shine your light so that others may see God's goodness in you. And for the person in the room who's not yet put their faith in Jesus, or the person watching this online, what do you do with a message like this? You taste and see the goodness of God. Because I believe as you draw near to Jesus, as you open his word, as you investigate his church, as you begin to pray, as you taste and see, you will find that there is a good God who's come to bless you, who gives you purpose, and who invites you into a life that is changed from the inside out. So Jesus, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to gather with a few of us in the room today and with many of us online. Thank you that in our gathering, you have spoken a word of truth and conviction and love and comfort to us. The reality that you have reversed the curse, that the gospel has brought us new life and new purpose, and we are no longer dead in our sin. And that you have reinstated the mandate that you have given us a plan and a purpose in this life that we can experience all of the plans and purposes and the goodness that you have for us. And that part of that plan is to take your goodness into the rest of the world. And so I pray for the believer watching this that we would be salt and light in the world and that people would see you and glorify you because of our lives. And for the one watching who does not yet know you, I pray that they would taste and see just how good you are. So Jesus, thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you've done. And thank you for the truth of your word. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, hey, Home Church family, we will see you hopefully in person next week as we continue on in our Hands in the House campaign and in week 2 of Inside Job. Enjoy the snow. We'll see you soon.
You're listening to audio from Home Church Roswell, located in Roswell, Georgia. For more information about this ministry or to give to this ministry, please visit homechurchroswell.com.